Now we're going to take a look at some new features again in the stroke panel of CS5, and to do that we're going to open a different Illustrator file. So bring up your open dialog box and from the desktop locate your project files, go into the Illustrator files and let's open this one called lecomap.ai. If we go ahead and open that, you can see it's a map that I've created. It's slightly stylized, it's not true to scale or anything else, but it's based around the town of Lecco, which is in the Italian lakes. And what I've done is on the Legends layer, I've created a couple of red dots which would suggest where our hotel and our bike shop might be for our bike tour company. Again, this is fictitious, but it gives us a really nice idea of how to use some of our tools. I'm going to zoom in here on that area so we can see where we are. And what we want to do is create a nice curved line which comes out from the hotel and points down at this location with an arrowhead on the end. All right. Now, arrowheads have been a function inside of Illustrator for a long time, but they always required an effect or something for you to do manually and construct and scale, that kind of thing. Well, arrowheads are now built into the stroke panel. You can see that down here on the right hand side. So what we want to do is create a curved line that comes from hotel and drops down into the center here. So for that, we're going to use a tool we haven't seen yet. We're going to come up to the line tool. Now the arc tool, we can draw in two different angles, basically. If we position our cursor on the outside of hotel, you see our smart guides are very nicely centering it on the word. That's very cool. As we click and drag downwards though, towards our red dot here, the way the arc tool draws, you can see it draws an arc downwards. So what we need to do, undo that, we're going to start from our red dot, dead in the center, click and drag upwards and come towards the center of hotel here. And you'll see that this actually changes the arc itself so it's on the outside of where we were and gives us the shape that we need. All right, let's go ahead and do exactly the same down here for our bike shop legend. Click in the center of the red shape, drag up and make sure we center on the word bike shop, and you can choose how far away from the outside that actually is. All right. So we've got our two arcs. Let's go back to the main selection tool so we don't create any more. Hold down the shift key and select both of them so we can edit them both at the same time. Now the first thing we'll do over here in the stroke panel is change the weight of these. 1 point for my liking is a little too thick, so let's make that about 0.75. And whilst we're here, just for attention to detail, what I'm going to do is apply a rounded cap. Even though we're going to apply an arrowhead down here, it is very nice if we just round off the edges, and what I'll do is zoom up there so you can see it. Just that little attention to detail. We don't need a squared edge there. It's up to you if you want to apply it. I like to see little things like that. Okay, so let's just scroll down here and zoom down into place. All right, the two of them are still highlighted. What we'll do is come down to the arrowheads option and apply either an arrowhead to the start or to the end. Well, remember the way that the arc tool forced us into drawing the shape, basically the start and finish point, we had to start here and finish up here. We want to make sure that our arrowheads are applied to the start, okay? So the first option here is the start. We can click and choose an arrowhead. What I'm going to do is maybe choose arrow 2. That's the style I'm looking for. Perfect. Applies it exactly where it needs to be. A couple of other options that we can choose here. The align option. Basically, we can choose whether the arrowhead aligns to the very end of the path, which is exactly what we do need. You also have the ability to extend it beyond the end of the path. So that's another option you might use in future. Let's go ahead and keep it as it is. What we can also do is affect the scale factor here. We can choose how big the arrowhead is in comparison to the width of the stroke. So I'm going to knock that down to around 70% there. I think that will actually do the job for us. So if I come over here now and click to deselect, we've got pretty good looking lines. We've got a nice smooth curve that was constructed using the arc tool. We've rounded off the edges there just as an attention to detail, but more importantly, slap bang in the middle of our red dot, we've got a beautifully scaled and very editable, as you can see here in the panel, arrowhead which has been applied exactly where we need it. So at this point you could save this and update the map if you want to, but hopefully that's given you a really good idea of how the arrowheads function inside of Illustrator CS5.